Well, welcome everybody. We, of course, are back here again on Wednesday for our Talk It Over notes for the
Mhm.
message on Sunday. Of course, continuing in that series of No Offense.
Mhm.
Excellent, excellent series. And yeah, so welcome everyone. Glad you guys could all join us here today. Oh, yeah,
Hey,
good times. Hi, Dave.
hey, you sound like you're a little bit out of breath. Like this has been a little crazy for you today.
No, well, it's been a little bit crazy. Yeah, work's been crazy. We had some things happening and vehicles not cooperating, so that tends to happen every now and then. So
Yeah.
just makes for a little bit of a more long rush day, but that's
Yes,
okay. It's not every day, so that's all right.
that's a good thing. So we're settling in now. We're getting ready.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Well, hopefully we got some people joining us for our talk it over, and jump in the chat, say hello, and we're on Facebook and on YouTube, both platforms. And so join us and make a
Yes,
comment, share your thoughts. We would love to hear from you and get your feedback. This is really a conversation we want to have, not just between Ian and I, but with you guys as well. And we really appreciate that as we kind of dig into what was the message about this past Sunday and what did we learn and what are we thinking about. And as we kind of figure that out together. And I always get so much out of that when we're talking it over.
oh, definitely. Yeah, it makes a big difference because you can get a different perspective, of course, from different point of view as well from the message. So certainly makes it a lot better, which is great.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, right on.
So I guess we should do a quick catch up on how everybody's week was.
Yes.
It's been a while. It's been a week since we
It's
got
been a week.
together for our talk it over. And so, how was your week? And let us know too in the chat how your week was.
Yeah, week was good. Of course, here up Canada, we just had our Thanksgiving, which was, of
Hmm.
course, very nice. We had probably some of the best weather I think we've had for a Thanksgiving in recent years.
That was
Um,
nice.
yeah, we were up 20, 24 degrees. It was so beautiful here, which was great.
Yeah,
And yeah, of course, having the great opportunity to spend some time with family, have a few meals, and of course, eating outside on the deck was wonderful on Monday. Having some turkey, some ham, and yeah, it was excellent. So the week's been really good. And Emmett's starting to work on his reading, which has been great.
oh,
So
hey,
we're starting to bring home a couple books now each week, and we're working on some reading. And he's certainly been doing a lot better.
good.
And yeah, it's been good. It's been good seeing that progress. So over the week here. So yeah,
It's
it's been
kind of
good.
exciting at that age, right? To see the little steps they take because it's just so obvious, right? They go from not being able to read at all to suddenly reading and understanding words, and it's big.
It is. It is. It's a big accomplishment. We kind of almost take it for granted because we've been doing it for so long. But yeah, exactly. When you see the little ones putting the words together, just even the words, and then making a small sentence, and
Yeah.
them actually understanding what they're reading, yeah, it's great. It is great.
Yeah, that's fun. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that worked out well. We enjoyed, yeah, Thanksgiving. We got together with family and did lots of great food. I love turkey. And so I enjoy doing that. And we're still eating some turkey leftovers, which makes for great sandwiches. So
Mm.
I don't know if you guys are eating leftovers from Thanksgiving weekend. Let us know. Are you a leftovers guy, Ian?
Yeah, I am actually. We finished up the leftovers last night actually for dinner, so
Okay.
we finished everything up yesterday. So I'm all
Oh,
out of turkey.
and then we were having people over, right, for a watch party on Sunday, and then kind of hanging out. So I bought extra desserts and things to share, which of course there's lots hanging around, and then I just eat them, and it's just
Oh,
not. Oh, it just comes back to bite you later. It's just not good.
yep,
I don't like
yep.
it. Hey Ruth, welcome. Glad you're
Yes,
here. I'm seeing Eva and Eva Senior and Eva. Let us know how your week was. Great to have you
yeah.
guys here. Fill us in how your weekend was for Thanksgiving, and even what your work week has been like this week.
Mm. Yeah. It's been good. It's been good. I enjoyed the lunch on Sunday. It was great. We had a whole variety of different food, which was
We did.
really nice. It was a very different kind of a Thanksgiving meal, which was nice. It's just come with your favorite thing, and yeah, it was good. It was good variety, which was really enjoyable. So
That's the fun of a potluck, right?
it is.
You get to experience some new foods, and we have people bring kind of their favorites, and There was some fun stuff there. It was good.
There was.
There was some dumplings. Oh, those dumplings were good.
Oh man, those were so good. I've never had dumplings like that. They were excellent,
Yeah.
excellent dumpling. A good change from just your all turkey or all pork meal. Just real nice to have a good change, which was always wonderful.
Yeah. And then we got to sit outside and enjoy the warm weather. Carolyn and I were out last night, late actually, which we don't normally do, but just sitting in the backyard. It was just beautiful.
Yeah,
And just enjoying it while we've got it because the snow will be here soon.
it's coming very shortly. Unfortunately, it's on
Yeah.
its way. As the leaves are changing quite rapidly now. So,
Yeah.
oh man. Well, let's dive into some questions, some talk it over notes. Let's dive into that. So, of course, this week, if you haven't watched it, it wasn't Pastor Craig this week. It was actually Pastor Chris Beal. And
Yes.
we've seen him before, and of course, he brings very strong, powerful messages as well. And his message this week was when bitterness takes over. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it, go watch it on our YouTube
Mhm.
channel, lifenorth.church on YouTube. Um, you can, again, watch previous ones, current ones, get all caught up. So yeah, get over there. Very powerful message.
It was.
I liked the one question that Chris brought in was, does the world seem a little angry? That's
Mm,
exactly how he started the message. And I thought that was a very interesting way to start the message this week.
yeah.
It really got me thinking, I guess, maybe the world is a little bit angry.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not seeing it as closely as maybe I could. So great question. A good one to keep you thinking on. The three
Especially,
things,
especially online, eh? Especially in
yeah,
social media and online. I think that's where a lot more of the anger is coming up.
yeah, anger, negativity, things that aren't real positive or really,
Yeah.
building up, for sure is definitely there. And of course, the 3 points that I really feel he really touched on really well was bitterness is a hidden destroyer. You
Yeah.
never see it, but it's there, and it slowly eats away at you, at relationships. It can be very, yeah, destroying.
That's
Um,
when he was talking about it being like the roots of a tree, right? Where it's kind of underground. You don't see it.
yes, yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, and yeah, his big picture of the oak tree was
Of
a
the oak
good
tree.
good representation of that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, his second point was bitterness always poisons others. So
Mhm.
again, building onto that, it spreads past you.
Yeah.
Uh, and his last point was bitterness creates roots in our lives. And again,
Mhm.
it can really take hold of us really, really easily and faster than maybe we may think.
Yeah.
So small things can make us bitter. And in Chris's case, it's people with bad trailering skills or loading skills, which I thought was quite funny. Unfortunately, I'm very much the same.
You are.
Yes, when I see very poorly loaded trailers or things that shouldn't be being towed behind stuff, oh man, that upsets me because it's
That's
dangerous.
probably me. That's gonna be me pulling a trailer with our minivan, and you're like, oh, what are you doing? Yeah, all right, it's what I got. It's what I'm gonna do.
So yeah, so I thought that was funny because there's certain things like that that can just annoy us, even make us
Yep.
bitter. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
um, I like the story that Chris told about when he was burnt out and he took time to
Mhm.
replenish himself, and I know that's very important for all of us to do.
Yep.
And then he realized that the issue was not the people um, that he cared for in his church. The issue was with him being bitter.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really really powerful and moving. Um, and again, another illustration he had was whether you miss the mark by a millimeter or a mile, we need God's grace and forgiveness.
Yep.
It's small or big. We of course always need it. Um, and of course, yeah. So yeah, very powerful message. A lot of
Yep.
content in there, way
Yep.
more than I can describe to you guys. So make sure you check it out and watch it because it is super super powerful.
Oh, and some of the stories he told that were really personal but really powerful to hear. He did a great
Yeah,
job.
yeah, he did. He did an excellent
Yeah.
job, and certainly for me, really spoke to me
Hmm.
in that. So yeah,
Yeah.
get watching that one. It is excellent.
Yeah.
Um, Now, some scripture, main focusing scripture here that he really kind of focused on Our first one is Hebrews 12, 14, and 15, which is make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no bitter roots grow up and cause trouble to defile many.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that roots, taking root, taking hold, a very big part of the message. And Ephesians 4, 31 and 32. Get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another. Forgive each other, just as Christ, God, forgave you. And man, powerful scripture.
What a beautiful picture that is. Eh? Can you imagine if that's what our world really looked like all the time, with people behaving that way? Oh, it'd be so good.
Yeah, it would be. It would be, and being grace filled, and forgiving instead of holding on and becoming bitter.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly can change our outlook as well as even how we act around people.
Yeah.
Can be really big. All right, so first question: on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy gardening or yard work?
Gardening or yard work. I'm not
Yes.
big on yard work. I like gardening because I like the results of gardening. I'm not big on gardening. Like, I don't look forward to pulling weeds and
Yeah.
putting mulch out and all that kind of stuff, even planting. But I love to see the results afterwards. I think it looks beautiful. And so I'm probably about a 5 or a 6.
Okay.
I'm happy to do the work. And we've been working on a garden around our house for about 10 years now, 10 plus years.
Yep.
And it's finally getting kind of to the end. And it looks spectacular. I love it. So yeah, I probably put myself around a 5 or a 6.
Oh man, yeah. I'm not a big garden guy. My wife is by far that bigger half. So for me, it's like, yeah, I'm like a 2. But
Really down there. Whoa.
but you bring in some gas powered tools, and I'm probably like a 7. Uh, um, so I prefer to prep the area, so getting some stuff dug up, tilled up, fertilizer worked in, things like that to get it ready. But the actual digging and planting and putting stuff in, not definitely not my forte. But same like you, Dave, I enjoy the end result of the gardens for sure. And once they're all up and running, and you've got flowers and you've got growing plants, things like that, I love just sitting there and looking at it. But yeah, getting it together is that's a not a big one for me by any means.
Well, and Eva there saying like for her just loves digging in the dirt and getting in there and planting, very therapeutic.
Yep.
And so that's a good sign of a gardener right there. I just
Mhm.
enjoy being in the gardens. So
Yes.
that's fantastic.
Yes.
I know Ruth is a gardener too.
Yep.
10 for her as well. And she does a lovely job with hers where she is.
Yes. Yeah, she has quite the plant collection.
She does, inside and out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, she's got quite the grouping of plants. So
Yeah.
definitely a gardener for sure. All right, so let us know again in the chat. Scale of 1 to 10. Do you enjoy it? Maybe not. Let us know.
Yeah.
So, which part of the message was most impactful for you and why?
That's such a good question. I think there was a couple for me. Certainly his personal story he told, that was hugely impactful. But I really like the gardening metaphor that he used at the beginning and that image of the oak tree, just because I love nature and I love the garden. And just thinking about the power of a root system, below the surface and how significant that could be.
Mm-hmm.
And really got me thinking then about bitterness. And I need to make sure there's nothing there, because if it grows and spreads, it can go a long way and really have a huge impact and be hard to get rid of.
Yes.
So that was big. That was a big one for me, that image and that explanation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the impactful part for me was, his personal story, part of his journey with him and his wife, and just how thankful and how it's all about her
Yeah.
and her sticking with him and pushing through the really difficult stuff.
Yeah.
And him wanting to make that change for me was just huge,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to find yourself just wanting to give up and run away or leave, and to see that she stuck there with it and was forgiving and showed grace and just stayed by him. I think, oh man, just so powerful, so
It
powerful for
was.
me.
Oh, just very emotional. And he honored her so well in the way that he
Mhm.
said that.
Yeah.
Just talking about the example that she was. And yeah, that was really, really significant. Ruth, it was the same, right? His story was just so impactful.
Yes.
And he was so honest and transparent, and they've been willing to really share their story of what they've been through. And so if you haven't heard that yet, yeah, you wanna go and check that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely check it out. It is very powerful. Very, very powerful. Let's see here. Again, Eva, yes, thinking his story was most powerful for her.
Yeah.
It seems to be, yeah, that seems to be a big one. Yeah, the moving story, which has been great. Okay, I'm going to read scripture again. I did read it off the start, but we're going to recap it again just to
Okay.
refresh everybody here. So, Hebrews 12, 14, and 15. Make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. So, fresh in our minds, why do you think the scripture compares bitterness to a root? And I know you kind of touched on that a little bit there, Dave, the last question.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Make sure you jump in, whether you're on YouTube or on Facebook, and let us know what you're thinking, why the Bible might compare it to a root. Obviously, there's so many things you can look at. One is the fact that it's underground, you can't see it. And it could be growing there all along, and you're not really that aware of it, right? It's not really in your face all the time. You have to actually think about it and pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that comes to mind is, I know for Carolyn and I, we went out for a couple of walks this last few days, and we're just talking that through a little bit and exploring, like, is there some bitterness about some things in there that we're not aware of, and being like, wow, I hadn't really thought about that. And so just wanting to be careful, because that stuff really can spread in the dark, and just like a root. So that's the one that comes to mind for me, why the Bible uses that metaphor, because it's not always that visible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely hidden. And the illustration you had of the oak tree and just the root system that tree itself has.
Yeah.
Tornadoes can't pull them up, can't move them. Like they're so solid.
Yeah.
And thinking about that, it's like, okay, so if that's a tree root system and it can hold something, that together, how does that affect my life? Do I let roots like that really go in that deep and that far to really hold things? And when those roots start to grow and they move, it doesn't necessarily just affect you, but it can affect others.
Yeah.
It can creep into different areas of your life. So at work, friend relationships, at home, with your children, parents, and it can just grow into so many different areas. And you don't
It doesn't stay confined right to that one small area. The root system just goes everywhere and impacts so much.
It does, and it continues to grow. It doesn't stop at a certain point. It just grows. Yeah. And I think, with the way the Bible is describing it and comparing it to a root, I think that's exactly it. It's a constant growth. It may be slow, but it's always growing, and it continues to get worse the longer it's left unseen, undealt with.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what's so nice about the gardening analogy, because if you spent any time weeding in a garden, if you get weeds out quickly, they're fairly easy to pull out.
Yep.
But if you leave it and let the plant grow, it is like you pull the roots out, and the roots are huge on some of these things. Yep. And you actually have to get a shovel out. You can't even hardly pull it out anymore because it goes so far. So the longer you leave it, the harder it becomes to get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The longer it stays, it's just there, and even sometimes when you pull the roots out, you don't get all of it, and then it
Yeah,
grows back.
it grows back.
And again, a great analogy. Like you need to get rid of all of the root, not just some of it, but all of it.
Yeah.
And so, working through those issues, those hurts, because most bitterness starts from a hurt,
Yep.
and it just continues to grow. And so, you got to deal with that hurt right away before that root can really take place. Let's read a comment here. So, Eva, there's so much power on the inside, whether that can be bad or good. Notice one area where I'm bitter. I don't really realize why I was feeling that way around this person. So now that I know, I can squash it. Exactly. So
I think that's so true for all of us, isn't it?
it is. It is.
Sometimes that creeps in and we're not even aware it's there. And we actually act differently towards people or situations and we don't even know. And then one day it's like, oh, that's what it is. I actually been bitter and I didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
So realizing it so you can deal with it, that's huge, right?
It
So it's
is.
not in the dark anymore.
Yeah, it's acknowledging it, and then you can start working to resolving what that is for sure.
Yep.
And Eva D, we have been working on a root from my past that I've had for a year, maybe even decades. Some real pain and unforgiveness that we're still working through to this day.
Yep.
And that's exactly it. It's not always a quick process. Sometimes it can take years to really work through and get rid of that root.
But the forgiveness, like that's key, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like extending forgiveness and grace and just that idea of we've been forgiven so much. And so that's what we have to do to other people. We actually have to let them off the hook, let them go. Even if what they did was not good, it doesn't matter. Because when we hold on to it and don't forgive, that bitterness, it just hurts us and the people that we love, as you were saying, right? Just it hurts the people we love, impacts our kids, our spouse, our loved ones, whoever's around us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, being able to work on forgiveness, that's big.
Yeah. Forgiveness is the key.
Yep.
Okay, next question. Let's continue on here. These are great questions.
Yeah.
So hatred and holiness cannot coexist in the same heart. So how could your bitterness be harming those around you? And what can you do to let go of that bitterness and extend forgiveness instead?
I love that, right? Hatred and holiness can't coexist. Holiness, right? Just meaning set apart to God, what we're talking about. Like you're doing it God's way. And his way is all about love. But bitterness is always about hating people, holding things against people, not forgiving people. It's all these negative. And you can't love people and hold bitterness against them at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's kind of what we were saying before. You got to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hold it against them. God has forgiven us for so much. It's unbelievable. Because I know for me, I am so far from perfect. I mess up constantly in my relationships and in what I'm doing. And God forgave me for everything that I do. And I got to do the same with other people. I can't hold it against them.
Yeah, that's big. And bitterness can really be damaging and harming for certainly relationships and people around you. I look at bitterness as a wedge. And, whenever you're chopping down a tree, you're always putting a wedge in. And the wedge, the more you drive the wedge, the further the tree splits.
Yep.
And I know for me, there's been bitterness that's been held on to. And that wedge gets slowly driven in further and further to that relationship until the relationship breaks. And now you're left with more hurt and it's hard to repair that sometimes. And so I know that can be true for maybe many of us, that holding on to that can harm us and the relationship and cause more damage than maybe you think it
and
can.
not just us, right? Yeah, to lots of people. You begin to model it for other people, this whole holding on to it.
Mm-hmm.
I know Eva's saying, I can forgive, but the work takes a long time. And I kind of agree with that. But at the same time, I think it's more you have to just keep forgiving. I don't think it takes a long time to do the work of it. I think it's you have to keep forgiving each time and not holding against the person until you actually really feel it and believe it. Because if you're acting differently towards them each time, you're kind of holding it against them still. There's
Hmm.
still some
Hmm.
bitterness there, and you got to let that go and really forgive them and give them grace.
Hmm.
But I think sometimes it's not like you do it once and you're done,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You got to keep doing it as you're interacting with them over and
Hmm.
over and over again.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah, and that's actually a really good point because in previous message in this series with Craig, talking about not bringing up pasts and
yeah,
continually bringing that up, because again, that just starts to add more bitterness, more resentment to the other person.
yeah,
Certainly in a marriage, that can be really harming,
yeah,
because you just keep bringing up the same issue that should be dealt with and it's not.
yeah.
And you can find yourself really in a bad cycle for sure. Um, so, yeah, bitterness is definitely extremely harming, not just for you, but definitely for the people around you. Um, and again, extending that forgiveness. And as you mentioned, Dave, about God's given us so much forgiveness, so much grace, because we aren't perfect and we won't be perfect. Um,
No,
we just can't be. And
yeah,
so I think it's really taking that perspective of we need to extend the same grace that God extended to us
yeah,
and continue on that, forgiving, you know, each time. Just forgive, forgive, forgive. It may be the same thing, but just
yeah,
continuing to forgive for that,
yeah.
because without that, you'll never get past it. You'll be stuck on it and stuck on it. And
Well, and really, if you're calling yourself a Christian, someone who's following after Jesus, that's an expectation. Like,
mhm,
if you're going to live life Jesus' way, you
yep,
got to forgive over and over and over again. That's how this is supposed to work.
yep,
And it is the best way to interact with people. It's the best way to have relationships with everybody. Doesn't
mhm.
mean necessarily letting people walk all over you and not having boundaries, but
No,
it's not
no,
it's not holding them responsible, right? It's
yeah.
letting them off the hook.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Just reading a couple comments here. We've got
Mm,
Eva. It's hard, but so good to do,
yeah.
and it certainly can be hard, um, to forgive because you think, oh, they hurt me so deeply.
Yeah.
Um, but when you think of that, it's like they hurt me. It's me. It's me. It's not an outward focus. It's a very
Yeah.
inward focus, and I think we can get hung up on that inward focus too often,
Yeah.
and then it's like, well, I'm not getting anything out of this, so why should I forgive? Because it's not
Mm,
right. We lose the focus that no, that forgiveness isn't really maybe for them. It's for us to help us move past that
yeah.
hurt. And yeah, I think we just get stuck too inwardly focused too often. And
Well, that's the irony, right? We think holding on to the grudge is what we need, and it
mhm,
just hurts us and everybody around us. When really forgiveness is the best thing for us.
yeah,
And God knows that. He tells us that, but I don't know. We just don't go there, do we?
for some reason we tend not to. That's not the
Yep.
first go to,
It's
and
not.
we need to start switching that around, getting into
Yep.
that forgiveness mindset and forgiveness and grace,
Yep.
because that is the key to
It is.
destroying that bitterness and that resentment, that allowing that to grow inside you.
Yeah.
Because the longer it sits in there, the more it grows, the more it takes root, and the harder it is for you to let it go.
It's awful.
So
Yep.
yeah, we want to make sure we keep that in mind. Well, wow, time flies. But what a great conversation we had today. Of course, we want to thank everyone for joining us here,
Hmm.
um, in the chat. And we just thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Dave, for joining me as well this week again.
My pleasure.
It's been a blast. Of course, thank all of our guys behind the scenes here, making this happen, running everything, getting it all set up for us. So thank you again. And of course, we are all on Facebook. You can check us out, Life North Church on Facebook,
Yep.
lifenorth.church on YouTube. We're there. Check us out. You can find all our stuff. Um, And of course, if you want to dive deeper, even deeper than this, start a life group. Grab a couple friends, join
Yeah.
in, talk notes are online. You guys can go through these questions and just dive deeper into it and have a real strong conversation. I know for me, life group is great. It's just a great way to expand on the message each week.
Yeah.
And it's just, of course, excellent. So we want to say, come join us again next week. We will be here Wednesday. Check us out, 5:30. So we're getting a little sooner, 5:30. So check us out, get things going.
Yep.
And we want to remember, whoever finds God
Finds life.
finds life.
See you guys.
See ya.